Hey, this is Josh from Upright Health, and today we are going to talk about how to do a Romanian deadlift with dumbbells. Now, this is an exercise that we have in the Healthy Hips 2 program, and it's also an exercise that we have all our Upright Health clients do when we're trying to get them to move their hips properly and gain strength. So before we get into how to actually do the exercise, what I first want to talk about is the difference between a squat and a deadlift, or also known as a hip hinge. So these are kind of the two main movements that your hips can go through. And they use a lot of the same musculature, but they're very different movements. So if you understand that and you can do both of these types of movements, then you'll progress in both those lifts a lot faster, okay? So when we squat, what we're doing is we're moving the hips down to about knee level or below. Hopefully you're not that guy doing half squats in the gym. And then we're squatting our weight up. Now when we hip hinge, our hips are staying a lot higher. They're staying above the knees here. And we are, but we're still getting this hip flexion to go down to the weight and then pick it up, basically, right? Now, a long time ago when I got into lifting, I didn't understand the difference between these two motions. And I really wish that I did, because when I started deadlifting, I just thought, oh, hey, I know how to squat, so I'm just going to pick this weight up, doing my same squat motion. And I ran into a lot of issues, right? I had some minor setbacks, some injuries, and my form just looked terrible, right? So it took me a while to learn, oh, okay, these are two different motions. So getting into the actual exercise that we're doing here, the Romanian deadlift, first we'll do it with no weight. We'll just hip hinge here. Now, the main thing that you want to take away from this is that we want the hips moving backwards, because that is going to load up our glutes and our hamstrings, and we want them to do a lot of the work in this exercise, okay? So we push the hips back to get our torso down to about maybe parallel with the ground, and then we use those muscles to power us back up here, okay? So what you don't want to do is, if your hips don't go back and your torso just comes forward here, then we're making the back one of the prime movers in this. And if you hear anybody say deadlifts are dangerous, they're bad for your back, well, yes, if you do them this way, then you might run into some trouble there with your back because you're doing them improperly, okay? So let's pick up our dumbbells here. And now what we're gonna do from the top is we wanna get ourselves braced, right? So we want to get the abs tight, we wanna squeeze the butt so we're all ready to move here. And we're going to drive the hips backwards. We're going to keep the weights very close to our legs. We're going to come down to maybe about the mid shin. This depends on how flexible you are, maybe to the ankles. And then we're going to stand back up, okay? Now remember that we're pushing those hips back. We're going to keep the knees fairly straight in this exercise because we want to put a lot of the tension on the hamstrings, okay? So we're pushing the hips back. The knees are staying straight. Dumbbells close to the legs. And we are standing back up. And that whole time, we want to keep ourselves braced, so we're keeping the abs tight, clenched. If somebody was going to punch you there, then you would clench that up. That's how we want to stay the whole time. And one of the most important things, want to breathe, right? So we'll take our inhale, we'll hold it throughout the hard part of the lift, and then we'll exhale as we're getting up to the top or at the top, okay? So let me do that again. I'm inhaling. Exhale at the top, all right? So that is how we want to properly do the Romanian deadlift with dumbbells, okay? Now this is a great exercise to really work those hamstrings and glutes, some muscles that get neglected in a lot of the people's training plans sometimes, okay? And it's very easy to progress in this. Each week you can bump up 5 pounds, just adding a little bit more weight each week to try to keep yourself going upwards. All right, guys, that is it for today. I want you to remember, pain sucks, life shouldn't.